President. We can welcome him with a clap. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Rais. Why don't we put our hands together as we welcome His Excellency. Welcome, sir. I'll request that we remain standing as we will start with two anthems. We'll start with the Kenyan national anthem, which will be followed by the East African anthem. The Kenyan national anthem. With your permission, Your Excellency, while we remain standing, allow me to now call on Shakir Swaleh, together with Lucy Mushoki, who will lead us in a short prayer before we proceed. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma ighfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat al ahya'u minhum wal amwat. Allahumma taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim wa tub alayna ya maulana innaka antat tawwabur rahim. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come to worship you and glorify thy name for your great love towards us as individuals and this nation of Kenya. We thank you for blessing each one of us with good health, blessing our country Kenya with peace and enabling our government to thrive. Thank you for our President of Kenya, His Excellency, Dr. William RUTO, and the leadership of Kenya that work under him. We pray that you grant him the wisdom he requires to steer this country forward. We thank you for the chambers of commerce represented here today. We ask you that you guide us in our work and businesses. We pray for prosperity and success. Bless this summit. May everyone who come here find fulfillment in the engagements we shall have today and the day after tomorrow. We pray this in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
May I kindly request that we take our seats, please. Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, Commander-in-Chief and President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya, Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Cooperatives, Micro and Small Medium Enterprises, General Wilson Mbadi, State Minister for Trade, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperation, Uganda, Honorable Atong Kwol Manyang, Minister of Trade and Industry, Republic of South Sudan, all Cabinet Secretaries present, Dr. Eric Ruto, Chamber President, Kenya, Principal Secretaries present, Honorable Johnson Sakaja, Governor, Nairobi County, International Chamber of Commerce Chair, Philippe Varin, Mr. Rifat Hisakoglu, WCF Chair, Secretary General, ICC, Your Excellency, Mr. Beyene Russom, Eritrea Ambassador to Kenya, also the Dean of Africa Diplomatic Corps, and ambassadors present, chamber presidents, chairpersons, CEOs, National Governing Council present, all senior government officials. Your Excellency, with your permission at this point, allow me to now call on Dr. Eric RUTO, President of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to make some opening remarks. Why don't we welcome him with a warm clap? Karibu sana, Dr. RUTO.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the Cabinet Secretary for Small Medium Enterprises, Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya, the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industry, General Mbadi from Uganda, the Principal Secretaries who are present here, Honorable John Sakaja, the Governor for Nairobi, my colleagues from the International Chambers of Commerce, being led by the Chairman of World Chamber Federation, my friend Rifat Kirolgu, the Chairman of ICC, Philippe Varin, and John Denton, the Secretary General of ICC, the Board of the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and the National Governing Council, the business delegates who are present here. Good morning. It is indeed a pleasure as Kenya National Chambers of Commerce here today to host the largest congregation of Chambers of Commerce leadership globally today. Welcome to this historic gathering of delegates who are firstly business people who are ready and able to seal deals, and secondly represent millions of businesses across the globe. The movement of the International Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Your Excellency, represents 45 million companies globally. And the chairman is seated here today, so it presents a big opportunity for Kenya and Africa to be able to attract investments and also increase exports that we dearly need as an African continent. I'm privileged to welcome 10 representatives from International Chambers of Commerce and Industry, over 65 International Chambers of Commerce and Industry who are seated here, 113 African Chambers of Commerce and Industry, 48 foreign international corporates who are not present here in Kenya currently, the KNCCI Gold and Patron members, various excellencies of the diplomatic corps. This extraordinary convergence of public and private sectors across the 5 continents demonstrates the pivotal role of this global summit here in Africa. We have people from all the 5 continents, from Australia to Bolivia, from Benin here in Africa to United States of America, North America, from Kenya to Turkey, where the chairman comes from. Basically, the world is here today. This is actually the Business Olympics in terms of congregation. Chambers of Commerce have stood pillars of business for centuries. Since the first movement that started in France, and Philippe comes from France, 500 years ago, and the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce that we started 60 years ago, it provides a big opportunity for Africa to implement the African Free Continental Trade Area that no other institution can be able to bridge between the policy and the practical implementation of the aspirations of inter-African trade. Our strength as Chambers of Commerce lies in 3 unique attributes. Firstly, our representation is breadth from micro, small, medium enterprises to multinational companies that embody authentic voice, diverse business communities. Secondly, our institution permanence. While governments change, Chambers of Commerce, our relationships transcend political cycles, providing stability and long-term economic integration, as shown that the Chamber has existed for the last 5 centuries. The third practical expertise of the Chambers of Commerce translate policy frameworks into business realities, creating trust mechanisms and information flows that enable cross-border trade to flourish. Each chamber in this room today represents thousands of businesses eager to participate in Africa's economic transformation in the 21st century. Together, we form an implementation network that no other institution can match. This summit presents 4 goals today. We want to boost inter-African trade from 16% to 68% that we see in Europe, North America, and Asia. And the aspirations of the FCFTA to reach 52% by 2030, the chambers of commerce, especially the African chambers of commerce here today, and there are 22 of them, presidents, that we shall be able to utilize this two-day conference to be able to chart the way forward for African businesses. The second is to dismantle non-tariff barriers, Your Excellency, that cost $14 billion annually here in Africa. And third is to accelerate digital transformation. And as Kenya National Chambers of Commerce, we have the Center of Entrepreneurship, and we are in the process of digitizing 750,000 businesses across 12 countries in the Great Lakes region, where I'm the chairman of the private sector in this region. We also want to empower women and small and micro enterprises and promote inclusive trade and economic activities within the youth and the women. We know that Africa faces a big challenge. There is a financing gap of $100 billion annually. While governments build fiscal infrastructure, as Chambers of Commerce, Your Excellency, is that we want to form trusted networks enabling trade despite physical limitations that we currently have in terms of logistics in Africa. Second is to provide business intelligent information so that the SMEs and the medium enterprises can be able to trade across Africa and across the globe. And definitely the last one is dispute resolution mechanisms, which International Chambers of Commerce is known to be the best body to be able to solve any trade disputes. Full implementation could increase FDI by 155% of African Free Continental Trade Area and drive business to business spending to 4.2 trillion by 2030. That is approximately 130% of Africa's GDP. Each $1 million investment in manufacturing in Africa would create 170 jobs, as opposed to only 10 that we do export raw materials and extractives here in Africa. And we have a big discussion on financing of SMEs here in Africa. Back home here, the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry has utilized a global network to be able to increase opportunities for Kenyan businesses. Your Excellency, we have opened in the last of 18 months 2 offices with our friends from Dubai Chamber. We have a liaison office there. And also from CCPIT China, we have opened an office. And in the last 18 months, we've been able to facilitate new trade worth $15 million. So this is the opportunity that this global movement of chambers of commerce provides. The trade support institutional chambers collect invaluable ground-level data on policy impact. Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Trade and Intelligence Unit provides operational insights that transform advocacy for hearsay to evidence-based practical steps. We, as the African chambers today, is that in the end of the 2 is to propose that the African Chamber of Commerce and Industry that we propose a permanent seat of the Chambers of Commerce at the African Union and institutional representation in the African Continental Trade Area. And I hope, Your Excellency, when you meet your peers at the African Union, this is what we are going to present during your next meeting. Distinguished delegates, we stand at the inflection of African point for economic transformation for the future. Let the chambers be the catalyst that turn integration policy into commercial prosperity. I thank you for your participation and commit to transform these discussions into tangible actions for the continental prosperity. Thank you very much. Welcome to Kenya.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eric RUTO. Next, Your Excellency, allow me to now call Mr. Felipe Varin, Chairperson of International Chamber of Commerce, to come and make his remarks. Let's give him a clap as he's coming forward. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, Dr. William RUTO, President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellencies, Ministers, dignitaries from the Republic of Kenya, Republic of Madagascar, Republic of Mauritius, Chair of the ICC World Chambers Federations, dear Rifat, Secretary General of International Chamber of Commerce, dear John, Excellencies, friends, thank you for your hospitality and for hosting us today in Nairobi. And I'm happy that the World Chambers Federation Regional Summit for Africa takes place here today. The fact that the inaugural edition of the African Gathering of our Global Chambers movement takes place here in Nairobi is without doubt a great testament of the key role that Kenya plays in regional and global value chains. And I would like to echo the remarks by our Secretary General, John Denton, previously with you, President, and extend particular word of gratitude to the individuals who have greatly contributed to the success of this event. First, to Dr. Eric RUTO, President, and to Mustafa Ramadan, Vice President of the Kenyan National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Their teams have been very instrumental in bringing this system together today in Nairobi. Second, to the great members of the ICC, members of the ICC Executive Board, which I had the pleasure to chair, your commitment to making this summit a resounding success was particularly appreciated. A big shout out to Omolara Ololade Akani from Nigeria, to Patricia Zolantima from Democratic Republic of Congo, to Patrick Obatz from Kenya, and Mark Novitz from South Africa. As you know, today's gathering comes at a crucial moment for the global economy, characterized by mounting geopolitical tensions, fears of economic recession, fragmenting international trade, and so on. As our Secretary General has said, countries around the world, including African ones, are currently being hit by what the US has called the reciprocal tariffs, announced last week as part of the so-called Liberation Day. From my side, I hesitate on Liberation Day, right? Perhaps Inflation Day, Global Recession Day, don't know. You will choose. At ICC, we are obviously concerned by the increase in protectionism and the erosion of multilateral cooperation in trade. These phenomena, if they were to intensify, would have severe, long-term negative consequences, particularly for countries that do not currently enjoy a high level of integration into global value chains. And we have released recently a study that shows that a full breakdown of the rule-based multilateral trade system with WTO would result overnight in a 33% drop in developing countries' merchandise trade, 33%, a permanent GDP loss of 5%. And for some sub-Saharan African countries, the consequences of a system collapse would be also dire, to even contemplate with export reduction by more than 42%. But against this backdrop, we see an opportunity for Africa to play an important leadership role in revitalizing global trading system. And we are discussing with you, President, before this meeting, to the benefit of the continent and the world at large. In fact, with over 1.5 billion people as of the end of last year, the African continent has the second largest population globally, a young population, presenting substantial consumer base for various industries. Nigeria with 230 million people, Ethiopia with more 120, Kenya plays the lion's share of the African population base. And the combined GDP is approximately $2.8 trillion in 2024. In addition, the rapid urbanization in Africa creates opportunity for business in urban areas, in consumer areas, infrastructures, developments. And similarly, and you know I've been very personally involved in it, on the critical raw materials. Africa rich natural resources, including these critical materials, contribute significantly to several economies in the continent and can definitely attract much more foreign investments. But to fully realize Africa's potential, greater efforts need to be undertaken. On the one side, to increase regional trade integration. On the other side, to foster companies' participation, African companies' participation in global value chains, particularly SMEs. So on the first front, intra-regional trade in Africa, it remains the lowest among the world today. So this partially owes to the fact that Africa has very intra-regional non-tariff barriers, such as, red tape, custom clearance, procedures, and these barriers produce effects in terms of unrealized trade and economic growth potential that are similar to those of the tariffs imposed by external players to African countries. And in this context, the initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area, they appear to be very promising. This FTA has the potential to create the largest free trade area in the world in terms of number of participating countries. And moreover, the estimates show that by 2035, implementation of this FTA could contribute to lifting 30 million people from extreme poverty and 68 million people from moderate poverty across Africa. So ICC stands ready to continue to contribute to support African countries, individually and collectively through these trade agreements, with advanced trade facilitation. This includes the ICC co-led Global Alliance for Trade Facilitation, for which nearly 20 projects have been so far conducted in Africa with the aim of streamlining cross-border trade procedures, for instance. They also include the Digital Standard Initiatives, which is about digitalizing trade of goods. We have today $17 trillion globally. And this is a very important element for the SMEs to access global value chains. But also more traditionally in our certificates of origins, at the time where the local content becomes increasingly important in free trade agreements, they are likely to facilitate the cross-border trade. So this is one area. The second front, which is the full potential of increasing SMEs' access to international value chains. This is particularly key amidst ongoing international trade dynamics, as you know, with some markets like the United States becoming increasingly harder to access in the face of sweeping tariffs. But just have in mind that the imports to the US are only 13% of global imports in the world. So there is remaining place for 87%. And there are promising markets for African exports. And for ICC, we have put in place a comprehensive tool called the one-click platform. I will not make the demonstration now, but it allows every SMEs everywhere in the world to access to the contents of knowledge of ICC in a pretty friendly way, and it will be even more friendly next year with development of AI. This would allow SMEs to have seamless access to the full suite of ICC products. Moreover, we are ready to disseminate ICC expertise and knowledge to build the export capability of SMEs in partnership with the 4 African chambers that are affiliated to the ICC Center of Entrepreneurship in Ghana, Morocco, Kenya, and Nigeria. We have already trained African SMEs on effective ways to trade internationally. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to conclude. ICC is firmly committed to working with individual African countries and Pan-African organizations to ensure that the full potential of the continent can be fully realized, in line with the objectives set forth in the Agenda 2063, the continent's blueprints to sustainable development. We are particularly proud of our deepening collaboration with the African Union, its development arm, the New Partnership for Africa Development, and other regional organizations that promote the country's development, such as the African Development Bank, the United Nations Economic Commissions for Africa, and more. We are equally proud of our strong presence over the African continent, as testified by our currently 9 national committees, 52 chambers involved in our World Chambers Federations, among them the 4 chambers which are affiliated with the Center of Entrepreneurship, and 6 African nationals who sit on our executive boards. We stand ready to work with every single one of you to expand our footprints to the benefits of the continents and the world at large. And this in the fulfillment of the mission upon which ICC was established more than 100 years ago, that is to promote peace, prosperity, and opportunities for all through open trade and investment system. We are going through turbulent times. We have now to revitalize multilateralism. And this is in this way that ICC can work to bring together among the 87% of the countries which are not on the export to the US, 87%, and we will bring together a new way of thinking to the new multilateral trading system. Thank you very much, and thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Varin. Next, Your Excellency, I'd like to invite Mr. Rifat Hisarkoglu, who is the Chairperson, International Chamber of Commerce. Let's welcome him with a clap. Welcome, sir.
His Excellency, President of Kenya, William RUTO, Honorable Ministers, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us at the first WCF Africa Summit here in beautiful Nairobi. It's a great honor to be with leaders and business people from Africa and continent full of energy, hope and talent. I speak to you today not only as the chairman of the WCF, but also as someone who truly believes in the power of trade. Because I am a businessman. We are living in a time of big problems, but also big changes. I am full of hope. We work together, we can make a difference. That's why timing of this summit is very important. Before I continue, I want to say thank you. A big thanks to the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry and its president, my friend, Dr. Eric, for organizing this event so well. I also thank my dear friends ICC President Philip Warren and Secretary General John Dante for their hard work to enlarge our global chamber network. And of course, thank you to President Dr. William RUTO for being us today. Dear guests, let us start with a serious truth. Around the world, protectionism is rising. Not long ago, US President started high tariffs called Liberalization Day tariffs. These taxes on imports have created new trade problems. China quickly answered with its own tariffs. Other big countries are also preparing to react. This has made the world more uncertain. Investment is slowing down. Trade is not growing. It is hard to say how much this will cost, but we know it will be very high. We cannot allow a future where countries build walls and tariffs and quotas. History has shown us this is dangerous. During the Great Depression, countries closed their markets, and it made things worse. We must not do the same again. So we will protect open trade. Who will defend free markets? The answer is we will. The business world, and especially Chamber of Commerce, must lead. We as the business people are the first to feel the harm of tariffs and bans. We are the ones who sell buy and invest. Our success depends on free and fair rules. Also, welfare of our people depends on free trade. So we must speak up. For over 100 years, chambers of commerce have supported free trade. ICC and WCF represent 45 million businesses in over 170 countries. That is a strong voice. When we act together, we can help governments work with each other, not against each other. If governments build walls, we, the business world, will build bridges. We will keep trading, investing, and working together. We will keep our connections strong, even when politics try to break them. 100 years ago, after World War I, business leaders created the ICC. They wanted peace. They called themselves merchants of peace. Their motto was world peace through world trade. They knew that free trade helps not just business, but also peace. Today, we continue their mission. We are also merchants of peace. And now, in this difficult time, we must stay true to their goal. Dear African business community, Africa is at an important moment. There are both problems and opportunities. If protectionism grows, Africa could suffer. Today, Africa makes up less than 3% of world trade, even though 7% of world's people live here. Also, trade between African countries is still low. This shows us that Africa's trade power is not yet used fully. But Africa also has a great potential. This is a young continent. About 70% of people in sub-Saharan Africa is under 30. Millions of young people are ready to work and build. We see this in Nairobi, Kigali, Johannesburg. This energy is the key of Africa's future. What do those young people need? They need open markets and strong partnerships. They need a global trade system where a business in Kenya or Nigeria can export easily, find investment, and work with partners from other countries. That's why I support the African Continental Free Trade Area. It's a huge agreement that creates on one African market with 1.4 billion people and $3.4 trillion in total value. It's a bold and historic step. I call on African governments and chambers of commerce to make this agreement work faster. I also want to say how important Kenya is in this process. Kenya has a strong and growing economy. It's a leader in digital tools like mobile money. Kenya can show the way for other African countries. If Kenya invests in roads, trade links, the Northern Corridor, and supports its tech and manufacturing businesses, it can become a center of trade. It can connect Africa to the world, just like Turkey did in 1980s, 1990s. I encourage all African countries to work more together and join global trade talks. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we face many global problems today, but I am still hopeful. I believe in what we can do together, business to business, country to country. The World Chamber Federation will keep connecting chambers across the world. We will help each other and share good ideas. Our next stop will be the 14th World Chambers Congress in Melbourne. Hope to see you there in September. Let us remember the old mission of the Merchants of Peace. They taught us trade builds trust. Business brings people together, and trade creates welfare for our people. We must keep this mission alive in today's world. My friends, let's protect open markets. Let's build bridges between people. This is our duty as chamber leaders. This is how we support peace through trade. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, allow me to invite the Governor of Nairobi County, His Excellency Johnson Sakaja, who will in turn invite the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Cooperatives. Tupigie makofi tafadhali. Welcome, Governor.
Your Excellency, President William Ruto, the speakers before me have, of course, laid out very elaborate protocols of those to recognize, so I associate with that. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, I am delighted to welcome you all to Nairobi and to be your host. On behalf of the people of Nairobi, welcome. Nairobi is truly honored to host the inaugural WCF Africa Summit 2025, and I am proud that you, Africa's leaders in business and policy, have chosen us, and for a matter of such moment, you're here to reflect with us on the continent's future. Karibuni and feel at home. I want to start by thinking about our beginnings, our policy and our hopes. As always, if we know where the journey began, we know better where it might end. We are at a moment, and I'm glad the chairman has just expressed some of the stark realities that we have. You know the statistics. In 1950, 22% of the world's population was in Europe. By 2050, there'll be 7%. But in the same 1950, Africa only had 7% of the global population. In 2050, 1 out of 4 people will be in Africa. Now, 65% of those to 70% are going to be in cities. It is just 25 years from now. The Economist on January the 11th, an article by John McDermott said that with current trends, 80% of the world's poor will be in Africa by 2030, up from 14% in 1990. It is obvious. With what the chairman has just said, with 3%, only 3% of the world trade coming from Africa, we must do something about it. And so that is why I'm happy that for the next 2 days, you as business leaders, policy makers, are going to have these conversations that are critical and that are momental. This is the right moment for those conversations. Now, it will be remiss of me to have you here without saying a little bit about Nairobi and what we're doing. I must sell my city. Nairobi has long been a hub of innovation and commerce on the African continent. This city is home to thousands of startups, tech incubators, and creative entrepreneurs, all pushing the bounds of the possible. Just like Africa, this is a young city. Our median age is 19. Not far from here, you'll find innovation hubs and tech parks where young people, men and women, are developing fintech solutions, health tech applications, and new business models to meet everyday challenges. We in Nairobi have embraced this spirit of innovation and working very closely with the national government. For instance, we have partnered with the private sector players to establish community innovation centers that provide youth with internet access, training, and mentorship opportunities. We are very glad that our president is keen on the digital superhighway, and we're taking advantage of that. We believe, and I'd love to make the case to you, that local governments are vital for nurturing talent and enabling innovators. When they do, our cities on the continent, from Nairobi to Lagos to Cape Town to Kampala, contribute directly to the broader national and continental goals of digital transformation for growth. As a city, our story is one of integration and connectivity. We are a melting port, attracting people from every corner of Kenya and of Africa, and these days more than ever before from right around the world. We have been gifted by, location. God has given us that gift. In, I think, 8 hours you're in Turkey, if not less. In 5 hours you're in Dubai. In 8 hours you're in London. But we need to do more with us as Africa, on the African continent. Our diversity is our strength in Nairobi and in Kenya. It has made this city a cosmopolitan commercial capital with more than 100 multinational companies, African or East African headquarters located in Nairobi. Those companies are helped and they're buoyed on in their tasks by an army of eager and innovative young Nairobians. I must make a case for you to also invest in Nairobi and to set up your companies. We have become a natural melting point and meeting point for East African trade because of our logistics and infrastructure, like the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and the Standard Gauge Railway, links us to global and regional markets. Under the Africa Free Continental Trade Area framework, Nairobi is poised to serve as a key node in the continental trade network, a place where traders, financiers, and industrialists shall connect. As governor, I am focused on enhancing this connectivity even further, improving our road networks in partnership with His Excellency the President, expanding public transport, and planning for smart city initiatives that leverage technology to improve mobility and services. One area that I want to highlight is the importance of public-private sector partnerships in urban development and service delivery. We are ready for business as a city. We have bankable investments for your companies to look at. Our growth has outpaced our public resources, and so collaborating with the private sector is critical and essential for building and maintaining the infrastructure necessary for a modern, competitive city. We have had successful PPPs in sectors like waste management and energy, and we're exploring more models for affordable housing, a pressing need given our expanding urban population. By engaging businesses in these projects, we not only intend and not only are doing that, we're tapping into finance and expertise, but also the solutions are effective and they're more innovative. This summit's emphasis on sustainability resonates with our approach. Our PPPs for urban transit, for instance, aim to introduce greener buses and a commuter rail powered increasingly by clean energy. If you set up camp in Nairobi, your carbon footprint will drastically be reduced, and we know our prerogative on climate action. 93% of the energy in Kenya is renewable. 93%, a mix of hydro and geothermal energy. And so you as a business will be able to reduce your own carbon footprint. We recognize that as we grow economically, we must protect our environment and improve our quality of life. Recently, Nairobi joined the C40 Cities Network to collaborate with other global cities on climate action. We have launched an ambitious campaign together with the President again to plant millions of trees within the city to increase green spaces and mitigate urban heat island effects. And we're rehabilitating our rivers like the Nairobi River, the Ngong River, and the Madare River, which is not only an environmental project, but also an economic one, as clean riverfronts are spurring new businesses and recreational areas. Additionally, we're enforcing regulations on air pollution and promoting the adoption of electric vehicles by setting up pilot electric vehicle charging stations around our city. Our vision is to transform Nairobi into a truly green city that sets an example for sustainable urban living in Africa. Crucially, inclusivity is at the heart of Nairobi's development agenda. A city's progress is meaningful only if all residents feel its benefits. And I think you could say the same about your businesses. We have programs targeted at empowering women and youth in business, such as the Nairobi Women in Business Initiative, which provides training and small grants to women entrepreneurs in informal settlements, and youth talent programs that connect young innovators to angel investors. I think in the last year, Nairobi got the highest level of investments in their startups on the continent, and we hope to reclaim that space. I know Nigeria are hurtling closely behind us, and so is South Africa, but we will run. You know, Kenyans, you can't beat us in running. And so we are running far ahead. In fact, Your Excellency, I heard that in the next Olympics, they have said they're changing the name of the marathon. It is now called Chase the Kenyans, just because of that. And so we'll keep running ahead on the continent. And that friendly competition is what we should have. We are not competing against each other, but sparring each other to move forward. In Nairobi, we're also simplifying the process of of starting and running a business. In the past year, we've rolled out an online single business permit system and sharply cut approval times for permits in partnership with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now, a small trader can now get their license in a matter of minutes, not weeks, right from their mobile phone. You log in, you open an account, you get a license, and you print it for yourself wherever you are in the city of Nairobi. Thank you. We are cutting red tape and fighting corruption at City Hall because, a fair and transparent environment is what allows businesses to flourish. When a city befriends its entrepreneurs, it attracts and concentrates creativity and investment. And concentrating talent in one place is absolutely central to urban growth. Ladies and gentlemen, in a good film, the location itself is itself a character. It comes alive. It motivates. It gives depth to the strivings and hopes of the other parts. That is Nairobi. It's not just a backdrop for the reflection you begin today. If you let it, it will speak back to you. And not just today. We are and we will remain players in Africa's great drama of integration, innovation, and growth. Just as Africa's climate position was agreed under our skies in Nairobi at the Africa Climate Summit, so too will many more of the continent's consequential decisions be taken here. In closing, I'd like to invite all our guests, local and international, to take some time, if your schedules allow, to explore Nairobi beyond the conference halls. Meet our entrepreneurs at the Nairobi Innovation Week Expo that is happening this week. Visit our Nairobi National Park, where conservation meets tourism. In fact, it's the only park, natural park, where you will find animals in the untouched habitat, how God made it, and at the backdrop of the skyline of a capital city. It's the only one in the world, and it is right next to you. Of course, the president will tell you that you might, in the evening, come across a lion or a cheetah. Please, just say hi. They're absolutely harmless. Enjoy our cultural scene. Sample the diversity of Kenyan cuisine in our restaurants. You will find a city that is dynamic, resilient, and welcoming. A city that embodies the optimism that we all share for Africa's future. I once again thank the organizers for choosing Nairobi as the host city. We do not take this honor for granted. My administration will continue to work hand in hand with the national government, and I truly must thank the president for setting the pace when it comes to working with businesses. The president of the Kenya Chamber of Commerce, you forgot to tell the people, he is called Dr. RUTO, and our president is called Dr. RUTO, but they're not related. He should be the one to say it, but they share much more in common. They believe in what businesses can do and what the private sector can do. Thank you, Excellency, and I think it deserves a round of applause for leading from the front. And so we'll continue working with the chamber, Dr. RUTO, the smaller one, and with international partners to ensure that the ideals discussed here are implemented for the benefit of our citizens. Together, let us make Africa's global future a reality, one city, one community at a time. Enjoy your stay in Nairobi. Thank you very much. Allow me to invite the Cabinet Secretary, Wycliffe Oparanya, who will also recognize other government officials present here. Let us give him a round of applause as he comes up.
Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Cabinet Secretaries and Ministers here present, the leadership of the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Before I make a few remarks, let me acknowledge a few people, especially my colleagues, ministers from other countries. Honorable Wilson Badi, can you stand where you are? State Minister for Industry, Trade Industry and Cooperative from Uganda, Honorable Abang Juk, Minister for Industry and Trade from Southern Sudan. Yes. And of course I have principal secretaries here, 3 of them. I have in my own ministry, I have the PS in charge of MSME, Susan Mangeni, the PS in charge of Cooperative, State Department of Cooperative, Patrick Kilemi, the PS in charge of investment promotions, Hassan. Your Excellency, it is a great honor to address you today as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of cooperatives and MSME development. In this capacity, I have the privilege of collaborating with millions of entrepreneurs, small businesses, owners, and cooperative members, individuals who are the foundation of our economy and vital to fostering inclusive growth. Today, I want to underscore the vital role that MSME and cooperative play in driving Africa's economic integration through the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFC-AFTA. MSMEs represent over 80% of African businesses and employ the majority of the workforce. They are active across all sectors, including agriculture, manufacturing, services, and innovation. If AFC-FTA is to succeed, it must be built with MSMEs and its core. Excluding them will create an integral market in theory, but not in practice. Cooperatives are a powerful tool for inclusion across Africa. They help MSMEs to scale up, access market, and pool resources. Whether it is a farmers aggregating produce, circles enabling access to finance, or artisan groups sharing machinery, cooperatives multiply the strengths of individuals. With the right support, they can enable MSMEs to meet quality standards and compete across Africa. At a continental level, we are learning from our peers and contributing to the African Union drive for the Pan-Africa MSME strategy, including plans for continental-wide MSME financing facility. The transformation of Africa will not come alone from the top, but it will be driven by its people, the farmers, traders, innovators, and small business owners. As a government, our role is to empower them through inclusive policies, smart investments, and strong partnership, ensuring that no business, no matter how small, is left behind in Africa's and world-shared future. To every entrepreneur here today, you are at the heart of our economic agenda, and we are committed to breaking down the barriers you face and unlocking opportunities across the continent. Let us work together as governments, private sector, development partners, and entrepreneurs as we build an Africa and the world where MSMEs are the engine of prosperity. Your Excellency, I don't want to pretend to talk about the government, what the government is doing when you are here. So I will give you that opportunity because you know much more. But I thank all of you for coming and welcome to Kenya, and I hope you will enjoy your stay here in Kenya. Kenya is a very friendly country, as you see how people stay here. Thank you very much, and God bless you. It is now my honor to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, to address the summit. Welcome, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may take your seats. And let me take this opportunity on behalf of the government and people of Kenya to welcome all the distinguished participants, the chair of WCF, the chair of ICC, our own Chamber of Commerce, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor on behalf of the people and government of Kenya to welcome all of you, not just to Nairobi, but to Kenya. As patron of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I'm especially pleased to host such a distinguished gathering of business leaders, policymakers, and development partners. It is a forum like this that transformative ideas take root and the seeds of prosperity are planted. We meet at a time of intensifying global disruption and uncertainty. The effects of post-pandemic recovery, shifting geopolitical dynamics, inflation and supply chain disruptions, and of course climate change are impacting many facets of our economic and social lives. Yet, despite these challenges, we are presented with immense opportunities. Africa is becoming more connected, more innovative, and more entrepreneurial. Our success will depend on how prepared and committed we are to embrace this fast-changing future. And I want to thank all the other participants from across the globe for making this very important step to host this first ever summit in our part of the world. Among the world's regions, Africa has every reason to be optimistic. Our potential is undeniable. We are the world's youngest continent, home to a growing population of well-educated, highly skilled young people. Our lands are rich in untapped mineral wealth, including those critical minerals that are essential for global industrial transition. We also possess the largest areas of uncultivated fertile land and the vast reserves of renewable energy. As you heard from the governor of Nairobi, our own energy mix speaks volumes of what renewable energy can do and the scope and scale of the potential that exists for generation and for deployment for both economic, industrial, and other uses. This is a historic opportunity for Africa because we are the world's clean industrial hub, and encouragingly, we are rising to the occasion of actually appropriating that position. Accelerating our integration through the reform of the African Union, as well as our regional economic communities and mechanisms, including key institutions such as the Africa Development Bank, Afrexim Bank, and the Africa Union Development Agency, signals the giant is no longer asleep. We did, at the last Africa Union Summit, endorse these institutions because they understand our continent better to work with other global multilateral banks and financial institutions to position Africa appropriately, especially on matters of investment and the big elephant that is resources, especially from the private sector, to finance our own growth. The expansion of modern transport and communication infrastructure also shows that we are preparing for a predictable and prosperous future. Conversations are ongoing in the LAPSET corridor that will connect Kenya, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. The first almost 700 kilometers of road is being constructed. We will shortly be discussing the extension of the railway between Kenya, Uganda, DRC, and Rwanda into the heart of the Great Lakes. We are surely looking at how to connect Africa better. And as you're all aware, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area brings into being the largest single market of 1.4 billion people in 55 countries, with a GDP of close to 3.4 trillion. And the good news is that the building blocks towards the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, whether you're talking about the East African Community or the tripartite free trade area that brings together EAC, COMESA, and SADC, that actually came into force last year in June, creating the building block for business, for investment, and for trade. Chambers of commerce are indispensable because they bring a proactive and solution-oriented perspective. Thus, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and the World Chambers Federation serve as vital bridges between government and enterprise, helping businesses navigate risks, unlock opportunities, and expand into global markets. Their advocacy and support are empowering local entrepreneurs to think globally and act boldly. In Kenya, we fully embrace this transformation, and in 2022, 41% of our exports were destined for African countries. Our manufacturers and tech startups are expanding across the region, demonstrating our strong conviction that Kenya's and Africa's economic fortunes lie in intra-African trade and cooperation. We all are aware of the geopolitical situation in the world, but there still exists greater opportunity for us in this continent, even as we work on mechanisms to leverage networks into global trade networks, we still have a bigger opportunity in intra-Africa trade. And the realization by policymakers like myself that that is where the real future lies is a very welcome development, because it's now becoming more obvious that even as we look to trading with the rest of the world, there is a present and real opportunity in trading within the African continent, which is within our power. We can make decisions for what happens in this continent. And it is the reason why we are reorganizing the Africa Union. We are reforming the institutions of the Africa Union so that it becomes a fit-for-purpose mechanism for us to unlock the potential of this continent first, even as we look at what we can do with the rest of the world. And the coming into force of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, the coming into force of the tripartite free trade area that brings together COMESA, SADC, and EAC, and our own mechanisms in the East African community are a testament that we are understanding the situation properly. So even as other mechanisms are being rolled out by others to do what they think works best for them, we also must think about what works best for us. And we can then have a conversation of equals at some point. And therefore, we are keen on working with institutions like the business institutions here for us to be able to have greater understanding and working together towards a win-win outcome. As we discuss the opportunities that Africa presents, from the young continent that we are, to the mineral resources that exist in this continent, to the energy potential and resources that exist in this continent, as we discuss those opportunities, it is very important for us as a continent to realize that these opportunities can be unlocked better if we spend more in sharpening our human capital. And that is why Kenya, for example, is spending $5 billion every year on education, because the demographic dividend that we have will be more useful, better aligned, and sharpened if we deploy it when it is empowered with knowledge, skills, and competences. We're spending 30% of our budget on making sure that our young people acquire knowledge, acquire skills, and competencies that make them not just a Kenyan workforce, but also a globally competitive workforce. Deploying also in a space of social services, including health, becomes a major component for young populations like the one we have. And it is the reason why we are also deploying enormous resources on matters to do with health, especially our focus on universal health coverage. And this is all in line with where we think the continent will be going. And just for the record, we're not focusing just on the assets that we have as a continent. These assets must give us value. The continent of the past, where Africa was a source of raw material, is going to change. It is bound to change. And it will change. Because our populations are better informed, our young people have more knowledge, our governments are getting more democratized, and therefore Africa is going to be looking at partners who will work with us on unlocking this potential, but not just unlocking the potential, but also unlocking the potential for value addition, for processing, creating local jobs, and creating wealth and value from the assets that we have. That is the future we are looking at as a continent. And we will be, with much more clarity, and much more intentionally, be working with partners who can work with us to unlock this potential. It is the reason why, for example, Kenya is investing $1 billion in our special economic zones with the Afri-Exim Bank. Because in our special economic zones, we can add value to our leather industry, we can add value to all the other agro and other industries. And it is in that context that we are looking at partnerships going into the future. Despite global headwinds, Kenya's economy, for example, last year grew by 5.6%, outpacing global trends. Key sectors like agriculture, services, and manufacturing are rebounding. At the grassroots, micro, small, and medium enterprises are the backbone of our economy, employing over 80% of our people. Their main constraints being limited credit, infrastructure gaps, are in truth opportunities waiting for innovation and smart investment. Because if you look at the MSME sector, they pay very high interest rates, yet they still make money. If there was financial innovation that has products, like we tried with the Hustler Fund, it's amazing how Hustler Fund today, despite the fact that it has no collateral, up to 90% repayment is happening. You would expect that a financial product that has no collateral and therefore individuals would have no incentive to pay back. But they are paying back because they see the value of the low interest they get in that product. And that is why repayment is all the way to close to 90%. And these are innovations that can be rolled out, scaled up, and we are looking at partners who can work with us to be able to access more credit innovatively to the private sector. As part of our bottom-up economic transformation agenda, we are focused on uplifting those at the base of the economic pyramid. And we are investing in agriculture, MSME, health, housing, and digital and creative economy. Our goal is to catalyze a bottom-up surge of creative and productive opportunities through strategic investment and targeted interventions. We have made remarkable progress in digitizing government services. 20,000 government services have been digitized, streamlining business registration and launching the Unified Business Permit in Nairobi, as the governor said, with more counties set to follow. Our investments in infrastructure, from railway, highways, and border posts to markets, fiber optic networks, and renewable energy, continue to support enterprise and economic growth. Devolution is a powerful force for bottom-up transformation. And county governments have and continue to play a crucial role. Together with the devolved chapters of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, counties must champion pro-business reforms, eliminate bureaucratic bottlenecks, and support local entrepreneurs. To encourage this, we are developing a county ease of doing business index to drive healthy competition, accountability, and progress. Whether we look at Kenya or any other African country, the signs are clear. Africa's future is bright. Through collaboration, investment, good governance, private sector innovation, and a reform-driven approach, we are ready for takeoff. In this journey, chambers of commerce will play an increasingly critical role. Kenya, for its part, is committed to remaining open for business, regionally engaged, and globally ambitious. Let us therefore move forward with shared purpose to unlock Africa's vast potential. What we achieve together, driven by this collective commitment, will shape a prosperous present and even greater legacy for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that there will be intense engagement by the different actors, business people, chambers of commerce, leaders of industry in this two-day event. And I am looking forward to getting an outcome of your decisions, especially those that are connected to policy decisions that we need to make it much more easier for business, for investment, for trade to flourish, so that together we can create synergy in areas that create a win-win outcome for business and for our countries. And therefore, I really wish you my very best as you engage in these 2 days, and I look forward to the outcome of this meeting as we work together towards a better business environment and investment climate. Thank you very much. God bless you, and welcome again to Kenya.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Another round of applause. If I may request, Your Excellency, for you not to exit. Can we take our seats, please, briefly? I'll request that I invite Dr. Eric RUTO, who has a gift to present to you on behalf of the Chamber. So if we can have the gift kindly. Let's take our seats, please. Let's take our seats, please. And then after that, Your Excellency, I'll seek your indulgence just for 3 exposures of photos to mortalize this particular event. So the presentation of the gift. Then after that, I will ask the ICC and the WCF leadership to come for a photo so we can, thank you. And let me also ask the KNCCI board to kindly come on this side so that immediately after this photo, you'll be next. The KNCCI board to kindly come on this side of the stage.